Hey there, it's Jeff Luther, and you are diving into the podcast for the Service Business Blueprint. This is where I walk with you and help you unlock the secrets to building a thriving service-based business. We talk about everything from starting out to setting milestones in your company you didn't even know would exist. We'll cover entrepreneurship, personal growth, mindset, everything you need for success in your service-based business. You ready to build that blueprint?
All right, we finally made it to our revenue goals or our profit goals. So our goal setting 2024, we talked about people goals, our business goals, our strategy goals. I even gave personal goals. You guys let me get kind of vulnerable there. I was open and honest about some personal goals that I have for the year, which I'm doing well on. And then we also have our revenue goals, which I'm going to talk about today, our profit goals. So my revenue goals might kind of shock you for the folks out there, the entrepreneurial mindset out there. Now the idea, I'm gonna get more into this, but the idea is I'm not playing small, so I don't want to convey that message at all, or giving up so that I make my goal easy so I can reach them. That is not the idea. We'll talk about this more. The idea is for me to be realistic. My revenue goal is very realistic. I'm not playing small, but I'll explain how I came to my goal. As entrepreneurs, for those of you out there, we're wired a little differently. That's what makes us entrepreneurs, right? It should almost be like a sickness. Sometimes you feel that way. But you know what the issue is? For those of you out there, the entrepreneurial mindset, or the business owners out there, the drivers, the issue with you is the same as the issue with me. We're wired a little bit different. There's always the wanting of more. And I don't mean like we want more to have more. It's the drive. That's what drives us. Unfortunately, that leaves us with a vision. We have a vision of what we want. When you have a vision of what you want, that means you have a vision essentially of what you don't have, right? So that's what we focus on. We focus almost on a lack. So when we have a vision of what we don't have, that makes it hard. It's the theft of joy, right? So it makes it hard to enjoy what we do have. So sometimes it removes the joy of our current accomplishments. And I'll encourage all of you to take stock of that statement. Just like some of the things I'm learning about myself. As you develop as a person, as you grow, you learn your strengths, your weaknesses. A strength of mine is to not let negative emotions impact me. Sadness, anxiety, fear. I do very well in those environments when the environment's high anxiety, or an environment harbors fear, or there's sadness. And the reason is because I do well at suppressing those emotions, right? The drawback to that, the downside to that, the negative impact is I do well at not processing happy emotions at the same time. So that can be a challenge. So when you become callous to negative emotions, you also become callous to happy emotions as well, and you miss out. So it's the same thing here. When we're focused on what we don't have or what we want, whichever way you want to phrase that, it steals joy from what we do have, that constant wanting. So before I get into this, into my revenue goals or my profit goals, I just want to have a sidebar chat. It's not a rant, but it may seem like one. It looks like a duck, talks like a duck, or walks like a duck, or whatever might be a duck. So it's not a rant, but I want to address the issue where, like in EO or EO Accelerator, or even in YPO, for those of you out there that are members of any of those peer groups, any peer group is revenue driven. So like EO, to be in EO, the minimum is $1 million annual revenue. And in some chapters, it's $2 million. Some of them have gone up to 3 as the bar gets higher and higher. But that minimum bar is generally going to be $1 million in revenue. What does that really mean? I think YPO is $14 million in revenues. That's one of the qualifiers. There's a couple more. I'm in EO and I love it. I'm in our Charleston chapter. I was in Atlanta for a few years. I think my total tenure in EO is about 7 years. I was in Atlanta before Charleston. Charleston having EO peer group was one of the factors in me choosing to move here. So I love EO. What I don't love is the unit of measurement that makes it the requirement to be a member. Revenue is vanity. Revenue is vanity and profit is sanity, right? So like even an EO accelerator, if anyone's out there that's in the accelerator group, that's 500,000 to $1 million, but it doesn't really mean anything. And revenue makes good cocktail talk, right? But we also tilt our hand a little bit if we don't really talk about profit as a unit of measure, because that would be exposing too much, and generally, as a rule, we don't like to socially talk about money. So when we talk about profit, that would be exposing perhaps even our income too much, and profit is not good cocktail talk, right? Because if you want to lead the discussion with, hey, we run on a 20% profit margin, well, that's great. Are you a $200,000 company? So that's not a lot of money, right? Or you say, well, we profit $380,000 a year. Well, then folks have an insight as to what kind of revenue, what kind of earning you have as a person. So it is difficult. So be careful of that. Be careful of chasing that revenue dream. And even so, I coach an accelerator group, and I can tell you over the years in different groups that I've coached, you see people making that mistake. They're chasing that revenue. They're operating on razor thin margins, but they want to hire to get to that next level of revenue. They chase that $1 million so badly that sometimes they do it even at the peril of the business. So they're operating on thin margins. They're close to $1 million. They think if they add folks, then that will drive them over that $1 million mark. And once you get to that $1 million mark, then it's a magical number, and you start your bank cuts all the bills, or your creditors cut all the bills in half. It just doesn't happen that way. So we have to watch profit. Forget revenue and look at profit. Profit is the driver. It's not how much your company generates in sales. It's how much you pay taxes on. That's the number. So now I'm off my soapbox, mostly. Almost off my soapbox. I'm still on the soapbox, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. How about that? So I hope that you're all focused on what you pay taxes on. I know that's not something that we like, but what you pay taxes on and what counts. My goal this year, my goal for 2024 is to keep our revenue flat. If I keep revenue flat compared to last year, that will be a success. The real estate market in our area is down over 35% from 2021 to 2023. Our business follows the market. The real estate market is down. I need real estate transactions for my business to go. A transaction, a house has to be bought or sold for me to go out and do a home inspection. So as that market declines, so does my business. That pool just gets smaller and smaller. And I know your first response is, well, you go get market share, right? You chase market share. Yeah, but that takes time. It took 20 years to get my business to $3.5 million. You're not going to recoup that $1.5 million in a span of really 19 months. It's almost impossible. It's a third of our business. So our business follows the market. We just want to keep our revenue flat this year. I believe that this year is going to be more of the same. The high interest rate, the low inventory. Why would someone sell their house when they have a 2.5% interest loan on it to go out and get a loan at 6%? It doesn't make good sense. I understand that. So I think we're going to see more of the same, just that kind of lackluster business and low volume. So we're now right around, we're operating, we did a little over 2.2 million last year. So we're going to stay around that same operating revenue, about 2.2 million. As business declined for us, I had to make some really tough decisions. It continued to decline. I was keeping everybody on with hopes that it would level off and start to turn. I thought this was going to be short-lived. So I had to let 7 people go in a span of 2 days in November. I do not ever want to do that again. There's a later episode where I want to get into the specifics of that. Part of why I do this podcast is to help folks. I want people to avoid making the mistakes that I made. I made some big mistakes, and I want to get deeper into that. For the purpose of today, it's not really time to. I don't have enough time to devote to it properly. My revenue goal is not very lofty, staying flat. I know that it doesn't seem lofty, but I've let people go. I intend to operate this year as a minimum. I intend to have a 17% profit margin for the year. That's doable. Ideally, I'd like to be at 20%. So 17% is where we're going to be, somewhere between 17 and 20. Anything over 20 is going to be really difficult for us to do. It's going to really tax our folks, and I'm not interested in doing that. But operating at about 17 to 20% is my goal for the year. So there are my financial goals, laying them out. Very simple. Not chasing revenue, not interested in growing revenue, sales numbers. I'm almost hibernating, watching the market, seeing what it does, and my profit is going to go up. We have operated consistently at right around 6.5 to 8% profit margin, so about 7%. And we're going to take our profit margin this year to 17% as a bare minimum. That's doable, easy enough to do. So I probably should have shared this first when we were laying out goal setting. I think that's the most exciting for people is the numbers, but I have made my numbers very boring intentionally. Revenue, I am not going to chase this year. I'm not interested in increasing revenue. I am only interested in paying taxes on the dollars that come through the door of my company. That's what I want to do this year. Profit is what I'm focused on. And if I have profit, if we make a ton of money this year in terms of profit, then I can share that with all the folks that are working hard to make sure that it happens. And that's what I'm going to focus on for the year. So there are goals laid out for the year. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you laid out some goals. My biggest hope in all of these goal planning exercises that we've done in all these episodes, that the one takeaway that you have is revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. We're going to start collectively as a group looking at our profit margin. Profit is what we're concerned about. Revenue is good cocktail talk. Profit is the driver. That's how we stay in business. That's how we know we're making the sacrifices for our family that are worth it. And that's how we know we can take care of the folks in our organization. All right, if you like what you heard, we got some great episodes coming up. Got some guests lined up in our next few episodes that are I'm super excited to talk to these folks. And if you like what you're hearing, just click that like button below. And I cannot wait to see you guys next time.
Thanks for hanging out on the Service Business Blueprint with me, Jeff Luther. Stay in the loop as we keep delivering these strategies to supercharge your service business. Hit subscribe, leave a review, be part of our growing community. Now you have someone to walk with you as we create your service business blueprint. Until next time, remember, where you focus is where your energy goes. Beliefs turn to things, so choose the good ones.